The 2010s weren't just a decade of basketball, they were a transformation. This was the era where everything changed. The way we played, the way we watched, the way we talked about the game. The superstars got louder, the drama got deeper, and the highlights, they turned into history. In 10 years, we watched LeBron James go from villain to legend, Steph Curry rewrite the laws of physics, and dynasties rise, fall, and leave scars behind. We saw MVPs born out of triple-doubles, rings decided by inches, and moments that'll never fade. The block, the shot, the decision, the 3-1. Each season gave us something unforgettable, something chaotic, something iconic. This isn't just a recap, it's a rewind through one of the most explosive, emotional, and legendary decades the NBA has ever seen. This is every NBA season of the 2010s explained. If you were watching the NBA in 2010, you remember the war. The regular season, that was all LeBron. The Cavs were stacked. 61 wins, league best record. Second MVP in a row for Bron. But something felt off. Cleveland brought in old man Shaq, hoping to tip the scales, and instead, it just looked desperate. Meanwhile, in the West, the Lakers were still running things. Kobe was locked in, Pau Gasol was a problem in the post, and they rolled to 57 wins without breaking much of a sweat. Kevin Durant led the league in scoring at age 21. Oklahoma City was just a bunch of kids. KD, Russ, Harden, Ibaka, but you could already tell something scary was brewing. And the playoffs, that's where the chaos started. The Celtics were supposed to be old news, done, washed. Instead, they cooked LeBron, sent him packing in 6. You could see it in his body language. Game 5 was one of the weirdest performances of his career. It felt like the end, and spoiler, it kinda was. Out west, the Suns made one last push. Steve Nash was still dicing people up, Amare was still catching lobs, and Phoenix swept the Spurs like it was 2005 again. But their run ended in LA. The Lakers were just too tough, too long, too smart. Then came the finals. Lakers, Celtics, Part 2. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't flashy, it was grimy, physical. Old school basketball. Nobody shot well. Nobody smiled. Game 7 was straight up pain for 48 minutes. Kobe shot 6 for 24 and still might have been the best player on the court. He grabbed 15 rebounds, hit clutch free throws, and let Ron Artest bury the dagger 3 that closed it out. Lakers 83, Celtics 79. Kobe got his 5th ring, his 2nd without Shaq. And if there was still any doubt about who the alpha was, that ring shut it all down. "I just got one more than Shaq," he said after the game, cold-blooded. That could have been the end of the story, a Hollywood ending. But then, the summer happened. Free agency in 2010 wasn't just big, it was nuclear. Wade was a free agent, so was Bosh, so was LeBron. And on July 8th, 2010, LeBron James sat in a chair across from Jim Gray and broke the internet. "I'm taking my talents to South Beach." That was it. One line. And just like that, the Miami Heat were a super team. Cleveland lost its mind. Dan Gilbert fired off the Comic Sans letter. Jerseys were torched. Parades were planned before training camp even started. The NBA was never the same. 2010 was the end of an era, the last ring for Kobe, the last finals for the Celtics, and the last time the league felt normal. Because what was coming next was chaos. If 2010 was the end of an era, 2011 was a full-on plot twist. Everything you thought you knew about the NBA? Throw it out. Because this was the year when legends crumbled, underdogs rose, and a quiet 22-year-old point guard turned into the face of the league. Let's start in Chicago. The Bulls weren't supposed to be contenders, but Derrick Rose didn't care about expectations. He played every game like he was on a mission, blazing speed, floaters over giants, step-backs with ice in his veins. He averaged 25-7, carried a team that had no second star, and said it himself, "Why not me?" The league agreed. At 22 years old, Derrick Rose became the youngest MVP in NBA history. And that wasn't the only shocker. Over in San Antonio, the Spurs reinvented themselves again. Manu, Tony, and Tim won 61 games with a suddenly up-tempo offense, but the Grizzlies, the 8th seed, they didn't care. Zebo put Tim Duncan in a blender, and Memphis pulled off the franchise's first ever playoff series win. It was gritty, it was grimy, it was beautiful. But the main event was in Miami. LeBron, Wade, Bosh, and the whole world watching. Every city they visited, booed. Every game they played, televised. Every move LeBron made, analyzed like a political campaign. They started 9-8. People panicked. Then they rattled off 21-22 and looked unstoppable. LeBron had the stats, Wade had the moments, but there was always something off. The chemistry wasn't natural. The pressure was unreal. And when the finals came around, we'll get there. In the West, it was the Mavericks making quiet noise. Dirk Nowitzki was in year 13. Everyone thought his championship window had closed, but that 2011 playoff run, it was art. He torched the Blazers in round 1. Then he straight up humiliated the Lakers in the second round, a 4-0 sweep that ended with a 36-point beatdown. Phil Jackson walked off into retirement. Kobe walked off without shaking hands, and Dallas kept rolling. By the time the finals rolled around, it was Heat vs. Mavs, and on paper, it shouldn't have been close. Miami had 3 All-Stars. Dallas had Dirk and Jason Terry and an old Jason Kidd. But games aren't played on paper. Dirk went nuclear. He hit every jumper, every fade, every one-legged leaner. He played through a torn finger and the flu. Meanwhile, LeBron, he disappeared. He averaged 17 points a game, the lowest of his playoff career. The Mavs came back in Game 2, stole Game 5, closed it in Game 6. And just like that, Dirk was a champion. Kidd got his ring. So did Tyson Chandler and Sean Marion. And LeBron, he walked off with the biggest L of his career. The internet cooked him. Skips, memes, laughing stocks. Not one, not two, became a punchline. The Heat were built for a dynasty, but in year 1, they came up small. And for LeBron James, the most gifted player in the world, it was a reminder that greatness isn't just about talent, it's about timing. Meanwhile, back in Chicago, Derrick Rose was just getting started, or so we thought. 2011 flipped the script. The Heat weren't invincible. Dirk wasn't done. And Derrick Rose, he wasn't just the MVP, he was the future. At least, that's what we thought. 2012 was the season where chaos met destiny. The NBA was still recovering from a lockout. Games were crammed into a 66-game sprint. Back-to-backs. Back-to-back-to-backs. Players were exhausted. Coaches were scrambling. But somehow, someway, the league still delivered one of the most unforgettable seasons of the decade. Let's start with the basics. LeBron James was done playing nice. After the finals collapse in 2011, the jokes, the memes, the doubts, they got loud. Too loud. So in 2012, LeBron came back locked in. No more smiling. No more distractions, just pure destruction. He averaged 27, 8, and 6 on 53% shooting. He defended 1 through 5. He stopped joking around and started taking names. That Miami Heat team, they were better. Wade was still elite. Bosh was doing all the dirty work, and they added Shane Battier and rookie Norris Cole to fill out the depth. This was LeBron's best regular season to date, and it earned him his 3rd MVP. But more importantly, it set the stage for redemption. And yet, 2012 wasn't just the LeBron show, because over in New York, something weird happened. Jeremy Lin. Linsanity. It wasn't supposed to happen. Undrafted, cut by multiple teams, sleeping on a couch, and suddenly, he was lighting up the Lakers for 38. Game winners, signature celebrations. Madison Square Garden exploded. For 2 straight weeks, Jeremy Lin was the most unstoppable force in basketball. It didn't last, but it didn't need to. It was one of the purest, most magical runs of the decade. Meanwhile, out west, a storm was building in Oklahoma City. Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Serge Ibaka, all under 24, all electric. They'd made the playoffs in 2010, took a leap in 2011, and now it was time. KD won the scoring title. Again. Westbrook played like a human explosion. Harden won 6th Man of the Year. OKC was deep, hungry, fearless, and they looked ready to take over. The playoffs? That's where it got real. The Heat blew past the Knicks and Pacers, but the real test came in the conference finals. Boston. Rondo playing out of his mind. KG still barking. Pierce still hitting daggers. They pushed Miami to the brink, up 3-2 heading into Game 6 in Boston. And that's when LeBron snapped. 45 points, 15 rebounds, 5 assists. No emotion, no smiling, just murder. It was a legacy-saving performance. The Heat won that game, then Game 7, and they were heading back to the finals. Waiting for them? The Thunder. Durant versus LeBron. Westbrook versus Wade. Harden versus the world. It was a battle of old versus new. The Heat had the pressure. The Thunder had the momentum. OKC won Game 1, but from there, Miami turned the lights out. LeBron dominated. Bosh hit clutch shots. Mike Miller turned into Larry Bird in Game 5. And in the biggest moment of his career, LeBron finally delivered. He won Finals MVP, averaged 28, 10, and 7, and got the monkey off his back. I'm LeBron James from Akron, Ohio. I'm not even supposed to be here, he said post-game. And just like that, the jokes stopped. The Heat were champions, the king had his crown, and the world finally had to admit greatness had arrived. But in the background, Harden was gone, traded to Houston that fall, and what looked like a building dynasty in OKC was already starting to crack. 2012 was the year LeBron silenced the noise. It was the year Linsanity came and went, and the year KD, Russ, and Harden made their finals debut. One team completed the mission, the other started to break. 2013 was the year basketball became theater. We got buzzer beaters, we got heartbreaks, we got the block, the bounce, the billion-dollar bounce, and then bang, a 3 from the corner that saved a legacy. But let's not skip ahead. The regular season? It was all about the Heat. Miami wasn't just defending champs, they were on a mission. LeBron James, fresh off his first ring, played the best all-around basketball of his life. 27 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists on 57% shooting. He was a cheat code. And the Heat, they rattled off 27 straight wins, the second longest streak in NBA history. It felt like a movie. Every night was an event. Every game had weight. The Bulls finally ended the streak, but Miami had made their point. They weren't just great, they were inevitable. Elsewhere, the league was shifting. Steph Curry officially became a problem. He dropped 54 at Madison Square Garden. He was launching threes like layups, and people were starting to ask, wait, can Golden State actually win with this guy? It was the birth of something dangerous. We just didn't realize how dangerous yet. Meanwhile, Carmelo Anthony won the scoring title and led the Knicks to 54 wins, their best season in over a decade. J.R. Smith won 6th Man of the Year. Tyson Chandler anchored the defense. And Knicks fans, they actually had hope. But the West was wild. The Spurs were still the Spurs, boring, robotic, and brilliant. Tim Duncan turned back the clock, Tony Parker was surgical, and Kawhi Leonard in year 2 was starting to look like the league's best kept secret. The Clippers were flashy, Lob City was in full effect. CP3 to Blake Griffin to DeAndre Jordan over and over again. The Thunder were still elite, but they took a major hit. Russell Westbrook tore his meniscus in the first round after colliding with Patrick Beverley. OKC was never quite the same without him. And the Lakers? Yeah, remember the super team? Kobe, Dwight Howard, Steve Nash, and Pau Gasol? On paper, it looked unstoppable. In reality, it was a disaster. Injuries, chemistry issues, Mike D'Antoni running a mismatched offense, it all came crashing down. But the one thing nobody will forget? Kobe, that final stretch. He played 48 minutes, then 44, then 47, willing that broken Lakers team into the playoffs, until snap. His Achilles gave out. He walked to the free throw line, made 2 shots, and limped off the court. The season was over. The era? Basically over too. The playoffs were loaded. Steph and the Warriors upset the Nuggets, then pushed the Spurs to 6 games. It was Steph's arrival party. Memphis, led by Zebo and Marc Gasol, bullied their way to the West Finals. Indiana pushed Miami to 7 games in the East, and Paul George arrived. He dunked on Birdman. He went toe-to-toe with LeBron, and for a moment, it looked like the Pacers might actually pull it off. But the finals were legendary. Heat versus Spurs. 2 masters, 2 completely different styles. Every game was chess, screens, slips, closeouts, mismatches. Tim Duncan was brilliant. Parker was clutch. Manu was chaotic. And Miami, they were fighting for their lives. Game 6, Spurs up 3-2. Miami down 5. 28 seconds left. Miss, rebound, Bosh, kickout. Ray Allen, corner, backpedal, splash. The shot of the decade. The shot that saved everything. Saved LeBron, saved the Big 3, saved the dynasty. Miami wins in overtime. Game 7, a classic. LeBron dropped 37, hit the dagger mid-range jumper, and closed it out. The Heat went back-to-back. LeBron won Finals MVP again, and the critics silenced again. 2013 was about resilience. LeBron defended his throne. Kobe gave us one last miracle run. Steph Curry became must-see TV, and Ray Allen gave us the coldest shot in NBA history. Basketball was evolving, and the old guard wasn't ready to give it up just yet. 2014 was beautiful basketball. It wasn't about highlights or hype. It wasn't about superstar narratives or flashy stats. This was the year where team basketball made its loudest statement. Where the San Antonio Spurs, often labeled boring and old, put together one of the greatest revenge arcs and most surgical playoff runs in NBA history. But before we get there, the regular season was noisy. Kevin Durant was on a mission. With Westbrook in and out of the lineup all year, KD said, "I got this." And he meant it. He averaged 32 points per game on 50, 39, 87 shooting splits. The kind of efficiency that broke analytics models. He dropped 54 on the Warriors. He scored 25 plus in 41 straight games. And by the time the season ended, he was holding his first MVP trophy. But 2014 wasn't just KD's year. The Pacers were back and better. Paul George looked like a superstar. Roy Hibbert was still a brick wall. They started the season 33-7 and had everyone asking if this was finally the year Miami got dethroned. And speaking of Miami, the Heat were still elite, but the cracks were showing. Wade missed time, the defense slipped a little, and although LeBron was still dominant, including a 61-point explosion against Charlotte, you could feel it. The Big 3 were running on fumes. This wasn't 2012 anymore. Out west, the Warriors were rising. Steph, Clay, and Draymond were figuring it out, but Mark Jackson wasn't the guy to get him over the top. He was fired after the season, but you could feel something special starting to simmer. The Clippers were loud and dangerous. The Rockets had Dwight Howard now, and Harden was still cooking. But the team nobody wanted to play? The Spurs. Same old names, same old system, but something was different. They'd spent an entire year thinking about one thing. Game 6, Ray Allen, that corner 3, that missed rebound, that banner they didn't get to raise. And now, they wanted blood. The playoffs? Straight up domination. San Antonio ran through the West, took out Dallas in 7, flattened Portland, crushed OKC in 6. In every game, they moved the ball like a symphony. Every pass had purpose. Every cut had meaning. This was basketball at its most pure. In the East, Miami still made it back to the finals, but it was a slog. They barely broke a sweat against Charlotte and Brooklyn, beat the Pacers in 6, but they didn't look like a juggernaut anymore. They looked tired. And in the finals, tired wasn't gonna cut it, because the Spurs came for revenge, and they got all of it. This wasn't just a win, this was destruction. 5 games, 5 masterpieces. San Antonio beat Miami by a record margin, an average of 18 points per game. The ball movement was divine. It was the beautiful game in its final form. Miami was stuck in mud. LeBron balled out, but it didn't matter. Wade looked spent. Bosh vanished, and the Heat got dismantled. Kawhi Leonard, just 22 years old, was Finals MVP. Quiet, locked in, deadly. He guarded LeBron, hit shots, made plays, and announced himself as the next face of the Spurs. And when it was all over, LeBron walked off the court, took off the jersey, and started thinking about going home. 2014 was poetry. The Spurs got revenge. LeBron saw the writing on the wall, and Kawhi Leonard became the league's most silent assassin. No drama, no trash talk, just greatness, shared equally. If 2014 was poetry in motion, 2015 was the start of a revolution. You could feel it coming, the shift, something new, something faster, lighter, louder. And it all started with one man, Stephen freaking Curry. This was his year. The year the NBA officially became a jump shooting league. The year defenders learned you could guard him perfectly and still lose by 30. But let's rewind. The 2014-15 regular season was pure chaos in the West. The Warriors, with the rookie head coach and Steve Kerr, exploded out of the gate. They didn't just win games, they destroyed teams. Fast, efficient, ruthless. Steph was doing things nobody had ever seen before. Step backs, 30-footers, no-look dimes, floaters, finishes through contact. He averaged 23 and 8, shot 44% from deep, and led Golden State to a league-best 67 and 15 record. They were fun, they were confident, and for the first time, they were contenders. Elsewhere in the West, James Harden was dropping 40 like it was nothing. The Clippers were still dangerous, but drama-filled. The Spurs were aging but tough. Memphis was bullying people in the paint with Zebo and Marc Gasol. And the Thunder? Westbrook went ballistic after Durant's foot injury, but it wasn't enough. They missed the playoffs entirely. And oh yeah, Kobe tore his rotator cuff trying to shoot a left-handed fadeaway. The Lakers won 21 games. It was painful. Out east, LeBron had made the move. He went home. Cleveland, the place he left, the place he now returned to, not as the villain, but as the savior. He brought Kevin Love with him, reunited with Kyrie Irving, and overnight, the Cavaliers became the team to beat in the East. But it wasn't smooth. They started 19 and 20. There were chemistry issues. Kevin Love looked uncomfortable. Kyrie was still finding his groove. Then, LeBron took 2 weeks off. Literally, just left, went to Miami, trained, got his body right, cleared his head, and came back locked in. From there, Cleveland caught fire. They finished 34-9 to end the season. LeBron was back in control, and Kyrie and Love were finally clicking. The East, still soft, but Cleveland, deadly. The playoffs, madness. The Warriors breezed past the Pelicans. Steph hit that one-legged, double clutch corner three that made the internet explode. They handled Memphis in 6, then bullied Houston in the conference finals, despite Harden dropping a 45-point bomb in Game 4 and then setting a record for turnovers in Game 5. Out east, LeBron took over. With Love dislocating his shoulder against the Celtics and Kyrie constantly in and out of the lineup, LeBron willed that team to the finals. He swept Atlanta in the conference finals like it was nothing. And suddenly, after 5 years, 1 decision, and 2 titles later, LeBron James was back in Cleveland and back in the NBA Finals. But the story? It wasn't LeBron. It was the Warriors. The finals began with fireworks. Game 1 went to OT, and Kyrie went down for good. Fractured kneecap. From that point on, it was LeBron and a bunch of dudes. Matthew Dellavedova, Tristan Thompson, Iman Shumpert. LeBron put up insane numbers, 35, 13, and 8 per game, and still nearly dragged them to a 3-1 lead. But then Steve Kerr made a move. He benched his center, went small with Andre Iguodala, and everything changed. Iggy played defense, hit timely shots, and slowed down just enough of LeBron to flip the series. Steph caught fire late. Draymond did Draymond things, and in 6 games, the Warriors were NBA champions. Iguodala won Finals MVP. Steph got his ring. In the basketball world, it would never be the same. 2015 was the birth of a new era. The death of the traditional big man, the rise of the three-point revolution, and the launch of one of the most dominant dynasties in league history. The game changed, and it was only just the beginning. But 2016 wasn't just about the comeback, it was about everything leading up to it. This was the most loaded, dramatic, meme-fueled, history-making NBA season of the entire 2010s, and it all started with one team, the Golden State Warriors. Fresh off their 2015 championship, people still had doubts. Kyrie was hurt, Love was out. The haters said the Warriors got lucky, so they came back in 2016 like a team possessed. Steph Curry had a season that broke the game. He averaged 30 points in just 34 minutes per game, shot 45% from 3 on 11 attempts a night, hit 402 threes, a number that sounded made up at the time. He scored 51 in DC, hit a 38-footer to beat OKC, and became the first unanimous MVP in NBA history. Golden State didn't just win, they crushed. They went 73-9, the best regular season record ever, better than Jordan, better than anyone. But the cracks, they were there. Steph tweaked his knee in the playoffs. Draymond was 1 tech away from a suspension, and in the finals, all that history, all that dominance came face to face with destiny. But we'll get there. The regular season also had Kobe Bryant's final ride. Every arena gave him love. Every fan knew it was the end of an era. And on April 13th, 2016, he gave us one last gift. 60 points against the Jazz. He took 50 shots. He didn't care. He earned it. The world watched. And we all said goodbye. Meanwhile, San Antonio quietly won 67 games. Kawhi and LaMarcus Aldridge were elite, but Golden State was just too much. The Thunder were right there. KD and Russ had a 3-1 lead on the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. Klay Thompson had other plans. He dropped 41 in Game 6, including 11 threes in one of the coldest performances you'll ever see. Then Steph shut the door in Game 7. Just like that, OKC's window started to crack. Over in the East, LeBron didn't care about MVPs. He didn't care about records. He cared about one thing, the title. For Cleveland, the Cavs steamrolled the East, blew past Detroit, smoked Atlanta, beat the Raptors in 6, Kyrie was finally healthy, Kevin Love had settled in, and LeBron, he looked like Thanos. He was locked in completely. So now the stage was set. Warriors, Cavaliers, Part 2. Steph vs. LeBron. Best team ever versus best player of the generation. Golden State won games 1 and 2 easily. Cleveland responded in game 3. Then Draymond got suspended for game 5 after you know what. Andrew Bogut went down. Andre Iguodala tweaked his back. LeBron and Kyrie took advantage. Both dropped 41 in game 5. LeBron followed it with another 41 in game 6. And now, game 7 in Oakland for everything. It's 89-89 with under 2 minutes left, and then it happened. The block. LeBron chased down Iguodala and pinned it off the glass. One of the greatest defensive plays ever. Moments later, Kyrie danced with Steph. Step back, 3. Bang! Kevin Love switched onto Steph. Yes, Kevin Love, and locked him up on the final possession. And just like that, Cleveland won 93-89. LeBron collapsed on the court, cried into the hardwood. Cleveland finally had a championship, their first in 52 years. LeBron won Finals MVP and left no doubt. This was his greatest accomplishment. And the Warriors, after 73 wins, after breaking the game, after coming within 1 game of immortality, they blew a 3-1 lead. 2016 gave us heartbreak, redemption, and legends. And the craziest part, the offseason was about to break the internet. The NBA in 2017 didn't feel fair, and that's because it wasn't. The moment Kevin Durant signed with the Golden State Warriors, the league felt broken. It was the basketball version of Thanos picking up the final Infinity Stone. It wasn't just a super team, it was an unfair team. Steph, Klay, Draymond, KD, 4 All-Stars, 2 MVPs, and a whole lot of pain for the rest of the league. But before we get to the wreckage, let's rewind. The regular season looked competitive. For a minute, Russell Westbrook went full anime villain. After KD left him behind in OKC, Russ played like he had a personal vendetta against the universe. He averaged 31.6 points, 10.7 rebounds, and 10.4 assists. A triple-double for an entire season. The first one since Oscar Robertson in 1962. He had 42 of them. He won games by himself. He hit that game winner in Denver to eliminate the Nuggets at the buzzer and finished with 50. That MVP? It wasn't even close. Meanwhile, James Harden, now fully unleashed in Mike D'Antoni's system, averaged 29 and 11. The Rockets were jacking up more threes than anyone in history, and somehow it was working. They won 55 games and turned into a real problem. The Spurs? Still elite. Kawhi Leonard had leveled up. He was now dropping 25 a game, locking down the opposing team's best player and looking like a silent MVP candidate every night. San Antonio won 61 games, but no one really believed they could stop that team. Because out in Oakland, the Warriors weren't just good, they were terrifying. They coasted to 67 wins. Durant averaged 25 on cruise control. Steph averaged 25 while shooting less. Klay had his random 60-point game in 29 minutes. Draymond ran the defense and started petty wars on Twitter. It wasn't basketball. It was dominance on autopilot. In the playoffs? Forget drama. This was a massacre. Golden State didn't lose a single game in the West. Not one. They swept the Blazers, swept the Jazz, then swept the Spurs in the Western Conference Finals. Though, to be fair, Kawhi Leonard got hurt in Game 1 after Zaza Pachulia slid under his foot. That injury changed everything. Over in the East, LeBron was still LeBron. He coasted through the regular season, didn't care about the 2 seed, and turned it on in the playoffs. He swept the Pacers, destroyed Toronto, again, handled the Celtics, averaged 32, 8, and 7 in the playoffs like it was routine. Cleveland was back in the finals. So was Golden State. Part 3, the trilogy. And this time, it wasn't close. Game 1, blowout. Game 2, Steph and KD danced on the Cavs like it was an open gym. Game 3, LeBron and Kyrie played perfectly and still lost. Because KD, calm, cold, clinical, pulled up from 30 in transition in LeBron's face and buried the shot of the series. That was the moment. KD wasn't just chasing a ring, he took it. Game 5 was the finale. Warriors won the series 4-1. Durant won Finals MVP. LeBron averaged a triple-double in the finals and nobody cared because the Warriors, they were just better. 2017 wasn't competitive. It was inevitable. The dynasty had arrived. KD got his ring, Steph got his second, and the rest of the NBA, they were left scrambling for answers. By 2018, the NBA felt like a reality show. There were fights, trades, secret burner accounts, backstabbing, broken rosters, and at the center of it all, one constant. LeBron James was still inevitable. But let's start with the chaos. The regular season was madness. Players weren't just competing, they were beefing. CP3 and Harden were clicking in Houston, until they weren't. The Clippers and Rockets literally got into a hallway fight after a game. Security had to step in. Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid were cooking in Philly. Trust the process was no longer a meme, it was a problem. Russ and KD, still awkward. KD and Draymond, starting to boil. And LeBron, quietly calculating. Because he knew this was the end. But the biggest surprise of the year? The Rockets. James Harden finally broke through. He averaged 30-9, led Houston to a league-best 65-17 record, and earned his MVP. The Rockets were legit. Harden was cooking. CP3 was still elite. And with D'Antoni at the helm, they had one mission: beat Golden State. Over in the Bay, the Warriors weren't the same. Steph missed time. KD was efficient, but moody. Draymond was starting to get on everyone's nerves. They still won 58 games, but for the first time in years, they looked human. In Philly, Embiid and Simmons led the Sixers to 52 wins, their first 50-win season since Allen Iverson, and trust the process became a reality. The Celtics were a surprise too. Kyrie Irving balled out until his knee gave out. But somehow, rookie Jason Tatum and backup point guard Terry Rozier kept them alive. And the Cavs, they were falling apart in real time. LeBron played all 82 games for the first time in his career and carried a mess. Isaiah Thomas didn't work. D-Rose disappeared. Jay Crowder wasn't a fit. The Cavs blew the roster up mid-season, trading half the team at the deadline. And yet, LeBron still dragged him to 50 wins. The playoffs? Now we're talking. Philly won their first playoff series since 2012. Ben Simmons looked like Magic 2.0. The Celtics, without Kyrie or Gordon Hayward, still pushed all the way to the conference finals. And LeBron? He turned into a supernova. Game winners against Indiana, a Game 7 classic in Boston where he played all 48 minutes, 35, 9, and 15 in the ECF. Another finals appearance, his 8th in a row, and possibly his greatest playoff run ever. But on the other side, the Rockets pushed the Warriors to the edge. Houston had a 3-2 lead. Game 5, CP3 hit the dagger and pulled his hamstring. Done for the series. Game 6 and 7, Harden missed. Ariza missed. The Rockets missed 27 straight threes, and Golden State survived. So it was Warriors vs. Cavs again. Part 4. And this time, it was tragic. Game 1 might have been the best game LeBron has ever played. 51 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. But all anyone remembers is J.R. Smith. The rebound, the dribble out, the look on LeBron's face. That was the moment it all ended. The Cavs lost in OT. The series ended in a sweep. LeBron broke his hand punching a whiteboard. KD won another Finals MVP. Steph got his third ring, and the dynasty rolled on. 2018 was the end of an era. LeBron gave everything he had. The Rockets came inches away. The league was tearing at the seams, and by the end of it, LeBron was on a plane to Los Angeles. The 2010s didn't go out quietly. They exploded. The 2019 season was a demolition derby. Bodies broke down. Dynasties collapsed. And one silent assassin from Canada stole the whole show. Let's set the stage. LeBron was gone, not from the league, but from the East. He had left Cleveland for Los Angeles, and while the move was big, the impact wasn't. At least, not yet. The Lakers floundered. Lonzo got hurt. Ingram got hurt. LeBron got hurt. Magic Johnson quit during a press conference. The Lakers missed the playoffs entirely. Meanwhile, the East, it finally felt open. Kawhi Leonard landed in Toronto, a one-year rental that felt more like an experiment. But Kawhi didn't talk, he just worked. Load managed through the regular season, dropped 27 a night, and had Raptors fans believing. Milwaukee had the best record in the league. Giannis ascended. The Bucks steamrolled people, and the Greek Freak won MVP, averaging 27 and 12 while blocking everything in sight. Philly made noise too. Embiid and Simmons were already all-stars. Then they traded for Jimmy Butler. Then traded again for Tobias Harris. The process wasn't trusting anymore. It was demanding results. Boston? Mess. Kyrie lost the locker room. The young guys regressed. And what started as a title favorite ended in dysfunction. Out west, the Warriors were still the Warriors, but they were walking on eggshells. KD was quietly frustrated. Draymond was loudly frustrated. Steph and Klay kept things running, but the joy wasn't there. Still, they had enough talent to breeze to another 57-win season, and once the playoffs started, it was muscle memory. Until it wasn't. The first round gave us fireworks. Damian Lillard waved goodbye to the entire city of Oklahoma City with the 37-foot series-ending bomb over Paul George and gave us one of the coldest walk-offs ever. Denver and Portland went 7 games in the second round, 4 overtimes in Game 3. CJ McCollum was a bucket. But the East gave us history. Raptors vs. Sixers, Game 7, tie game, 4 seconds left. Kawhi in the corner, fading, falling, shooting over Embiid. Bounce, 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 bang! The shot heard around the world. The only Game 7 buzzer beater in NBA history. That was the moment Toronto believed. They took down the Bucks in 6. Giannis got walled off, and Kawhi outplayed him straight up. And now, for the first time ever, the Toronto Raptors were in the NBA Finals. But standing in their way, still the dynasty. Golden State lost Durant to a calf injury, then Klay to a hamstring tweak. Then KD came back, and in Game 5, it all went wrong. He tore his Achilles. Just like that, everything changed. Toronto smelled blood. Kawhi averaged 28. Pascal Siakam went off in Game 1. Fred VanVleet turned into Steph Curry Jr. And in Game 6, with Klay going down with a torn ACL, it finally ended. The Raptors won the title. Toronto, champions. Kawhi, Finals MVP for the second time. And the Warriors, it was over. KD was done. Klay was out. The dynasty was shattered. 2019 was chaos. The shot, the injuries, the collapse, the crown. The decade ended with a whisper from Kawhi and the sound of a new NBA being born. The 2010s were more than just a decade of basketball. They were a decade of moments, from Kobe's farewell 60 to LeBron's chase down block. From Steph turning warm-ups into viral events, to Kawhi's buzzer beater bouncing through history. From not 1, not 2, to 3-1. This was the era where basketball became global entertainment, where MVPs weren't just trophies, they were debates, where players became brands, and dynasties weren't built, they were engineered. It gave us the Miami Big Three, the Splash Brothers, the process, the block, the shot, the dynasty, and the collapse. It was the rise of analytics, positionless basketball, and social media beefs. Super teams formed, feuded, and fell. Legends said goodbye. New kings took the throne. But through all the drama, all the buzzer beaters, all the narratives, the 2010s gave us clarity. This was the decade that redefined greatness and left us wondering what could possibly come next. If you made it this far, you're one of us. So drop your favorite moment of the 2010s in the comments. Was it LeBron's block, Steph's 402 threes, or maybe JR forgetting the score? And if you like the content that actually remembers what made this game great, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. We'll see you in the next one.